Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the LFC Toronto show. My name's Azaz. And of course, as always, I have Dan with me. Dan, how's it going?
Good, mate. How are you? Good to see you in red. How are you?
Very good. And we have Eric joining us today. So Eric from our supporters club. Eric, how's it going? Welcome for the first time on the LFC Toronto show.
Yeah, thank you. A bit of a surprise from Dan, but here I am, and hopefully I don't disappoint.
No,
you never do. You never do.
Yeah, you never do. So you know what we would normally do at this point is kind of look back at the last game and look forward to the games that are coming. But it's been a while since we've had a new guest on the show, so I think we're going to go a bit old school and talk to Eric just about his LFC fandom. And when we first started this show and we were meeting different people, we were kind of calling it your LFC origin story. So tell us how you became a Liverpool fan, any memories, first game, favorite player. Just take us on that journey of how you came to be a Liverpool fan and what got you to this point.
Well, I started supporting Liverpool probably around 1964-ish, right? In South Africa, where I'm originally from, we never had TV, so we never got any coverage whatsoever. So the only way we could catch the game was on shortwave radio, if you had a transistor that you could get it, right? That's number one. But a lot of my influence about British football in particular came from getting the comics from the UK and Roy of the Rovers and football and all these different magazines. And the first thing that struck my mind was Ian St. John. So that was really what turned me on, and I kind of just followed it on from then. And so I was probably at about age 12, around that time or that era. I first went to Anfield, was 1976. And it was a great game. I just can't, the only problem is it's so long ago that I can't actually remember who they played. But I do going to the standing room only, and the guy that I went with said, well, whatever you do, keep your hands in the pocket, because in case someone's going to pee in it, you know, those days, standing room.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, that's what they used to do in those days, because there were, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, there were probably only two washrooms, one on each diagonal corner in you know, we're talking 1976 or earlier. That right. You know, Anfield's not what it is today. Yeah. But Paisley was the manager. Kevin Keegan was on the team. Ray Clemens was in goal. I'm trying to think of, you know, just who all the other players were. Phil Thompson, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Those guys. So, you know, I'm just dating myself, but that was my journey, you know. And I followed Liverpool ever since. And yeah, so here I am.
And what led you to Toronto and the community as well? Like what prompted you to come here, and how did you find us, you know, as well?
Well, I joined the Liverpool football, the supporters club. A number of years ago when it was at Scallywags. Yeah, and I went a few times, but you know, I mean, it was probably run according to the times, right? There was no social media, there was no easy access to just to getting the message across. But you know, so then I stopped going because, you know, we lived up in the north end of the city. So and then as I retired, I always said, once I do, I'm going to start going to the games, and that's what I've been doing. Try to get, you know, as many as I can. It's a little hard on the weekends.
Yeah. So you come more in the week then, hey?
I do come on the weekends. But but if it's an early Saturday game, it's tough for me
Yeah.
to get there and so on.
It's tough for me too, Eric, and I live 10 minutes away, so I
Yeah.
do not blame you.
Yeah.
That's super cool. So okay, so South Africa, Liverpool, you've touched on getting to Toronto. You've been to Scallywags, now you're coming to Elephant and Castle. What do you enjoy most about being part of the community and coming and watching at Elephant and Castle?
Well, you know what? I tell a lot of people how well the Liverpool Toronto club is and how well it's run and all the things that they do. I have a very, very close lifelong friend, Liverpool supporter, huge Liverpool supporter. He lives in Chicago, he belongs to the club, and I copy him on certain stuff and everything. He says they don't get half of the stuff that that I get, and it's a huge, it's a big win. Even at the club, I tell people how well I believe that this club's run and the stuff that they do, everyone. And just recently, my wife and I were in Spain on holiday, and it was the Liverpool game, I think, against Union.
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 USG,
so, we found our way to the Madrid club, which was in a very, very, very small pub somewhere in Madrid. But the guy wouldn't allow us to come in, and sit down because it's so small. He said it's only for paid members first, but there was no welcome to Madrid, welcome to the club. Just bear in mind that we've got paid members. As soon as they come in and there's capacity, you're more than welcome to join. It was very abrupt. But what I've seen at Toronto, whenever there's an outside guest from wherever, the guys welcome him or her with open arms. They're made to they are made to feel part of the club and the group, and that's what's great about this club in particular, or the Toronto club.
Thank you for the this is just a huge massive compliment that you've just paid us, Eric. And I honestly, as you're saying that, I just think back literally about an hour ago, or maybe an hour and a half ago, I'd just taken my son to play some indoor soccer, right, at a local community here. Funny enough, the coach who's running this session is actually the ex-Chilean World Cup keeper.
Oh yeah,
yeah, from way back. But anyway, I and his son, actually, it's his son who's actually running it, but he's there as well. But what's really crazy is that before the session, I actually met another Red because I was wearing this hat, and he'd said, "Are you a Liverpool fan?" I said, "Yeah, of course." He's like, "Oh, what? Did you catch the result?" And what was crazy about it is, as you were talking about your story and how you appreciate, the welcome and everything. I was just chatting with him. I said, "Well, where do you go?" This kind of thing. He's like, "Well, I go to Mississauga right now," and I know there's a couple of members in our chat as well who've been talking about the Bristol, which is a good place as well. Some Reds go there as well. But I did ask him. I said, have you ever been down to Elephant and Castle? And he said, not as yet, but I've seen some amazing stuff, and he wants to come down for a match. So I'm sure we're going to welcome him, just like you and just like others. And it's not just us, the sort of organizing executive, you want to call us that. I think our members act that way as well. Once we're a part of this community, we also afford and extend that sort of friendship out, and that's what we're about. And we're all volunteers, right? We're all servants. We're all fans of the club. That's all it is. And I just really appreciate that you've shared your story, man. And
well, I concur and I agree on that. And I think every member that I speak to about my opinions, they echo that,
Cheers,
and that's why they keep coming back and back.
That's
what it's about. And I think, your club complies to all the bylaws of Liverpool and the respect issues and all that, and that's what it's about. Everyone is treated well and with utmost respect.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. So that's my story.
It's wonderful. Just
Yeah, no.
yeah, it's wonderful to hear. So let me ask you, Eric, are you and your wife coming to the Christmas party this Friday?
You know what?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Fridays might be tough because sometimes we have to babysit, as in the case tomorrow, and that's the only thing. But
that's quite important.
I will sign up, and if I don't, then hopefully someone could take my place and benefit.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
for sure. And like we have a lot of folks coming and some really, really cool entertainment. I was on the email chain with our entertainment and he's very, very excited to
Benny and the Jets.
Yeah, well, it's not just Benny. Is actually there's a new act coming, so it's a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I'll try sign up tonight.
No, listen, there's no pressure. I mean, if you can, great. If not, all good.
I'm used to
only
pressure.
limited tickets, right? Azaz? I think there's only like a few left.
There's
not many.
As in, there's only a few left, and you have to rush and get it. But literally, I think there's only
there's literally single-digit tickets left.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
And there's obviously there's a whole sort of fire code and all that kind of stuff. And so if you were looking at it, I'd look at it as soon as possible. But cheers, no, it's gonna be a fun night, right? Azaz? I mean, we have a lot of goodies for sure.
Oh yeah, lots and lots of goodies. Cool. So thanks for sharing that, Eric. Thanks for the compliments and the love. I think it's just a testament to how far this membership and this fan base and community has come over the last couple of years. My favorite story is the fact that there are people who moved to Toronto in the pandemic and we are their main community, because obviously it's so hard to meet new friends and a new community when you move countries. And then you can probably multiply that by 10 when you're moving somewhere in a pandemic. And yet, through the power of Liverpool Football Club, some folks have been able to find a community that they can call their friends, and they've built friend circles and some connections that'll last lifetimes. Just today we're celebrating 20 years of two of our members having met at a Liverpool supporters club and becoming a couple. So and our supporters club formed in 2001, so it's only 22 years old itself. And yet we've got a couple who just hit 20-year anniversary today, so kind of cool.
Shout out to Tony and Peter.
Absolutely. So we have to talk about the game that just went on Sunday, 1-1 against Manchester City at the Etihad. I'm going to go to Eric first. Like, what were your thoughts on the game, mate? Like, happy with the point? Like, what your thoughts on how we played and the team that Klopp picked, the tactics, however you want to dissect it? The stage is all yours.
Well, to be honest and truthful, I wasn't able to see the game. I actually had to watch later, right? Because I had a really early commitment, which was running with my group, and I just couldn't get out of that. But I don't know. I found it not bland. I mean, they played well. It just they were. I think both sides. They were just. I don't say it was a dreary game, but it just like compared to today's game, it was it was a whole different ball game.
A bit tired, I guess.
Yeah, but I think to walk away with a draw is better than a loss, and that's my opinion on that game.
Yeah, I think the international break really. Sorry, Azaz, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, Dan, anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think the international break really played into that. There was the quote of Maka saying that he was yawning in the meeting, in the pre-match meeting the day before. Like I think some of the injuries and knocks picked up as well. Like with Alisson and Jota, I'm not sure if it was sort of fatigue related or anything like that. But playing 2 matches and then 3 matches within a week and a half. Especially traveling in Brazil and all that kind of stuff, it takes its toll. So, but as far as the match went, I felt there was a lot of focus put on the Doku Trent matchup, and I felt that there's that weird sort of stat data point that says that what is it, dribbles or passed or something like that. And apparently there was like 7 times that Trent was sort of dribbled past, and it was like, if you actually watched it, there was no real value outcome that Doku actually got off those, aside from one where he made a decent cross through and whatever else. So so that was a real interesting one. But as you can tell, Trent held his own. He was left there by himself. I know, Zaz, you have some thoughts on that. And I thought he played relatively well there. Yes, he got beat on the goal from Haaland with Ake, but I mean, that wasn't expected. And I think Trent just showed his quality right at the end of the day, taking that sort of that charge and just stepping up and bearing that thing. So sorry, Zaz, wanted to chime in there with that.
Yeah, no. So I think so the only one time that Doku made it across, Ali saved it and we scored off the other off it. Like, Gravenberch like carries it on the other side. Yeah, I thought there was a couple of players of ours that were outstanding, to be honest. Trent being one of them. I think this thing that fullbacks are gonna face up to world-class tricky wingers that are fast and strong, and they're just gonna like come out on top 10 times out of 10 times. They're not going to be taken on once. They're not going to be turned inside and out. It's a joke, actually. Like if you watch the great wingers of the past, like Luis Figo tore everybody apart. Like it didn't matter who you were, whether you were Cafu, if he was playing on the right and he was up against a Roberto Carlos for Barcelona, when he played for Barcelona against Real Madrid, he would take him on. There's even in the Premier League, like you look at somebody like David Ginola, like he used to tear shreds into anybody playing right back. So this context that our fullback has to be airtight on every single run, it's where did this come from? It feels like a stick just to beat Trent with.
You know what I think. Sorry, Eric, if you had a thought there on that, but please go ahead if you did. But if you didn't, I would say that Kyle Walker, I think this whole England narrative got like sort of pushed down to him at the club level, and I feel like now if you watch, let's say, Reece James, or if you watch, if he's ever on the pitch, but if you see, Kyle Walker, or if you see the other, Trippier, whatever, yes, they're very solid defensively, but a lot of them play in a 3. Right, like they play in a back 3, and they don't play that traditional sort of fullback role, where they're sitting back in a back 4, or like everyone knows Trent like plays in this inverted role now. He will contribute. He will get on the ball. So this notion that like when he's tracking back and then defending, like I would say like 80, 85%, 90% of the time, he actually stops the play. He actually does his job. But like to be completely airtight, like you said, I think that's just unfair, right? Like, what do you think, Eric? Like
I agree with you. I mean,
unrealistic.
I mean, that's not really his role. He's in the position that Klopp's got him for good reason, but it's tough, to get 100 out of 100 every time, right?
Absolutely, and there's a reason why I think they have Matip or Ibu there to cover that and to shift over, similar to what City does or what England does with Kyle Walker, and what he, again, Walker I felt is more defensive than what Trent is, but I feel like you're absolutely right. It's like the media, like especially rivals, they just like it's the same thing with VVD as well. Remember when he got dribble pass or almost pass? It's like just harp on this one KPI, if you want to call it that, and it's like okay, like really, and you just judge him by that. When he turned in a man of the match performance and literally saved us a result there. So I mean, I just think we walked away from that match not playing the best at all, and we still walked away with a point, like you said, in the title race. And head-to-heads are what matter. There was one. Sorry, just one last point on this. There was a point brought up by some of the commentary, I think on Sky, which was if you to take like the mini league of like Arsenal, City, and Liverpool, and judge that for the rest of the season, we've already got their away fixed. Like we already got the away fixture out of the way. So we have Arsenal and City at home at Anfield, which we favor generally ourselves. I mean, hey, they're quality team, who knows? but we have to go away to the Emirates. But I mean, I think right now we're sitting again well from that mini league, and let's see how that goes head to head.
But December's typically a telling time,
Yeah.
who drops out, or what you could read into it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, you know what, we're in the top echelon of the table, and that's what counts, right? Before we were like, I think we were hovering around mid-table or plus, right?
Yeah.
The
Last
year
season
before.
we were off. Yeah. Sure.
So
yeah,
we just got to continue.
The only other thing I'd say about last week's game as well is that we had to go against City, the hardest game in world football, at the Etihad after an international break. It was 7:30 a.m. and we had one team talk and one training session. That's it. So like the only time that Jurgen got to work with his squad was one training session, and that just makes the result even better. Like if we had all week to train and we got a draw at the Etihad, I'd still be like, well done, Liverpool. But the fact that we pulled that off with that limited time for him to communicate to his players, because bear in mind as well that when we go to the Etihad, that's the one game out of 38 where we may change our system a little bit. 37 other games in the league, we play our game. It doesn't matter where we go. And obviously 19 games at Anfield, we play our game. But the one game, and we ended up having to do it early after an international break, and we got one training session and one team talk, and Alexis McAllister was falling asleep in that team talk. It's amazing. I think that we are setting ourselves up for the potential to have a great season. At this point, you can have a run of 3 games like Tottenham had. Tottenham had one half an hour that ruined their season against Chelsea. So like everything's built on sand at this point. It's only 13 games gone, but we are building ourselves the opportunity to challenge, and that's all you could want after last season where we weren't in the conversation and it was dreary as hell. And then in the summer we rebuilt this midfield. All you want to do is have the ability to like, maybe it's going to be a good season as you start to progress, and I think it is shaping up that maybe it will be.
Right. Well, as I said, going into December, being where we are in the table is pretty good. We're technically we're in a damn good spot compared to other years, and
No, I was just gonna say, like, the big thing though is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Zaz or Eric, like the bulk of the fixtures are even, or are they more at home than away? I didn't get a chance to look at the schedule, but I think there were more home fixtures than away, right? And that lends itself to a little bit of like comfort, a little bit of that sort of like Anfield pickup kind of thing, right?
Especially when it's 50-50. Yeah, so it's Fulham home, and then 2 aways are Sheffield United and Palace. So they're both away. Then it's Man U home, Arsenal home, Burnley away, Newcastle at home. So the 3 home games are huge.
Three key games.
Big games, but the Burnley away is a nice little breather in between, because everyone's games are coming thick and fast. You can't have that argument. What's scary about this next week is we play Fulham on the Sunday, we play Sheffield United on the Wednesday, and then we play Palace on the Saturday. So that's 3 games in 6 days. That's a lot. And 2 of them are away. But if we can just come out of this, like 3, so it's 3, 4, 7, 21 points. 21 points to play for in like December and the new year before we go on that break, because then there's like a 2 to 3 week break when they'll play the FA Cup and give the players some time. So 7 league games. I mean, I want 21 points obviously, but I'm doing a deal on 18.
Right.
I would say like,
But at the end of the day, going into 2024 after Christmas, which is a telling time, it's only going to get tougher, because everyone's going to be fighting for survival at the bottom and this and that. So
Yeah, and throw in Europe, right, for a lot of the top
Yes.
teams as well. Like, you know, you're
No
you're
kidding.
looking at those who don't have Europe. Like, so one team that I feel, and this is the LFC Toronto show, but the one team that I feel who doesn't have Europe, correct me if I'm wrong, but Villa, I don't think they're not in Europe, but they are
No,
like
they're in the
really
conference. They're in the conference
Are they
league.
in the conference? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, they're in the
yeah, yeah.
conference. So I guess there's
Yeah, the
that. But
only one that doesn't is Tottenham.
it's and Chelsea, I
Yeah,
guess, as well. But I mean,
yeah,
Chelsea are
yeah,
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, no, for us, I mean, you know, the Europa thing. I mean, it's good that we're getting the. So maybe we can segue into the Europa match maybe right now. I don't know. What do you think, Zaz, today? What do you think? Yeah. The
What do I
4-0.
think of
The 4-0.
Oh, the
Right?
4-0. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, you go first. I just spoke quite
Yeah.
a bit.
Well, I was at the club today, and it was a smaller crowd, but it was great. You know, everyone was positive about the whole thing. Lask, you know, I think was a weaker team to begin with, but I tell you, we played quality football. You know what? We were fighting for every ball. You know, even the lost balls we won back a lot of times. And you look at some of the ratings that the different social or things, you know, Foot Mobile and all the others gave.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of 8s, there were a lot of 7s. You know, there weren't many 5s or 4s and so on. I think, like, you know, our defense was solid. They won the ball back, and I think Keller did an outstanding.
He did
an outstanding job. You know what? I think everyone kept us in the game. It was a great game,
especially the young lads, right? You know.
Oh
like,
my God!
Some really standout performances, like you said, like Kansa. Like, you know, I mean, you know, Jurgen said after the match, he's like, everyone wanted us to buy a center back, right? Like they want us that extra cover. Well, if you properly train and you cultivate and you
100%.
motivate and you know you build up your academy, this is the result of that. And there was one play in the match, I don't know if you remember, like you both recall this, but there was one play when Lask was making a 2-on-1 sort of like run, and he turned the way that Virgil turns, you know, and you can see that Virgil has that influence on him in terms of not committing right away, but like shading a little bit, and then just waiting for him to make that move. I think a lot of, I'm sure you guys noticed that, but it's like that's wearing off on, like, you know, him and like obviously some of the others, and Gomez out there as well. You know, with some great influence. Almost scored today, his first Liverpool goal ever. So I was really hoping and cheering for that. But no, it's good. It's a good redemption story for him, and obviously Harvey, and you know, just Harvey had a really good performance, I thought, today as well. But yeah, no, the young lads are really showing up.
But I think Klopp and the coaching guys, they chose the right squad, you know, to start the game.
Yeah.
You know, you know, and the youngsters, I tell you, our youngsters that are coming up, Doak and all these guys, I tell you, we got some really good stars, you know, in the making.
The biggest one, Dan, you summarized it really well. The biggest one to me today was Harvey Elliott. I thought he was outstanding. He's got to be really unlucky to not be getting more starts in the Premier League. Like, I know we've got a system and it's working, but like at the moment, he's kind of got everything. Like, you know, particularly if there's a home game like Fulham on Sunday, which is his former team, because he's even giving like that right-sided midfield, like the defensive balance as well, you know, like he's getting back, he's tracking back. I think above anything else, he's listening so hard to what Klopp's saying and what he has to do to keep in the team.
Yeah.
And this was the one thing that was like the one thing that I was like is a bit redeeming about the Europa League, because if it was the Champions League, we'd have to be playing their full main team week in, week out. So I like the fact that I think being not being in the Champions League sucks. Like I watched a couple of Champions League games this week, and every time I hear the anthem, I have so much FOMO. Like I'm just like, why are we not in this? How are we not in this?
How are we not in this?
There's two fraud English teams in this year's competition, and like we're not in it. Clearly because we couldn't get our own shit together last year. But basically, then I watch us in the Europa, and I'm like, oh, this is setting us up for the next 2, 3, 4 years, you know, and I'm okay with it.
I agree.
Yeah, it's such a nice playground to test out your tactics and develop your players, right? At the end of the day, they're traveling just like you would travel to some far off locales and get used to that. You know, I think betting some of these folks in is kind of key.
You know, we talk of the youngsters, you know, so if you could just imagine like Kwanzaa and Doak and Chamberlain, it's Chambers, I think. Chambers and, you know, even Harvey Ellett to a degree. I mean, these guys are, you know, they got such good mentors, you know. I mean, imagine like being mentored by Virgil and Mo and Trent and others, you know. I mean, it's to die for. You know?
Oh, you got World Cup winners in the squad. I mean, you have like
100%.
genuine world-class players that you're training with week in, week out. So if you don't show up, if you don't give it your all, you know, it's funny because I was watching yesterday Leipzig, and you know, there was the goal that was called off from Carvalho, our forgotten man, right, who's on loan. And I don't know this for sure, but you know, and I hope it's not this, but there could have been some of that in terms of not putting in the amount of effort and in training and things like that to get your place, to at least be considered, right? Because that's what I think, like you said, Azaz, I think Harvey, he's realizing that there's only a certain amount of leash you have when you come up as a 16, 17 or prodigy. Just like I forget that guy's name. Sorry, it just Ben Woodburn. That's it. You know, like where he scored, or you know, so you have a little bit of leeway there, but that leeway is very, very short if you don't make that sort of Michael Owen step and just really start to hit the ground and just be, you know, whatever. And so with that comes hard work and in training, commitment, all that. And I'm sure like all of them have that by default, but there's a certain level. And you know, Stevie used to talk about this in training, you know, where you would literally try to prove your point in training with the senior players to then get a chance potentially to make it out on the pitch for the first team. And, and I think that like Harvey gets it. Like he's a Liverpool fan. He's in the away end. Like he knows what it is to be there, right? Like and I think Curtis knows the same. Obviously Trent does, and some of the local lads sort of know that, and or local or Liverpool fans, you know what I mean? And what's really interesting though is that when you say young guys, you know, you're talking about Konsa and like, you know, then you're like Gravenberch and like Jones are like, I looked up Jones today because I wanted to rebut one of Liam's points. Shout out Liam, by the way. Liam is typing. And I looked up, he's 22. Curtis Jones is 22. Like, I know, and he's had a lot of like, he was in the Champions League winning squad. I mean, he was called up there in the Premier League, but like he played some minutes, and he's 22. Gravenberch, 21. Like, so like this is a very, very young core, and I think it's just really exciting to get to see this sort of development. And they're all in there at once. It's not like just like one or two, you know, like in the Champions League matches. Now it's like they're all just thrust in there and play.
Yeah,
you know?
and you can keep going. Like Sobo's 23, McAllister's 24. Like they're babies. They're actually babies. It's really, really cool to see. You know, like once you start to look at the attack, it's a bit older, obviously Mo, but even Diaz and I think they're all the other side of 25, 26, Jota, etc. Although Nunes might be young, 24. Yeah, but the midfield is young. And then the other thing I love about Gerald, the other thing I love about Quansah is there's all this thing happening. I don't know if you folks have seen it on social media, where it's like he's baby Van Dijk. Like there's a thing that's like trending.
Oh, is there? Oh, I haven't seen that
baby
yet,
Van Dijk. Yeah, so they're like someone will do like a GIF of him doing something very Van Dijk-y, and it'll say like baby Van Dijk So that's like taking the social media
that's a
by
problem.
storm at the moment. It might even end up being his song.
Yeah,
Because
his
it's like,
baby.
yeah,
And
which
I'm
will
sure
be
he would
really
love
cool.
it. I mean, if you could
But
come anywhere close to virtual.
But back to Harvey.
Yeah,
That shot on goal that hit the post,
Yeah.
the top post.
Yeah.
I
Right
tell you,
off the
that
bar.
would have smoked it, hey? As they
Yeah.
say, it would have been a corker.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? There
Yeah.
was another corker in the first half with Shimikas, right? Remember that?
Oh,
off the bar
wow.
as well?
That was a
Jeez,
shot.
Nice, right?
yeah, good
Why
point.
not
He
more
had
of
a
those?
good game.
He's growing in confidence, right? You know, like since
Yeah.
that whole like Robbo and him, and like, you know, he's injured a little bit. Now he's
Yeah.
like, especially at the City match, really, I think proved his worth of having a recognized
Sure.
left back, right? Rather than putting Joe Gomez in there and, you know, trying to like
Yeah.
play around with that. I thought that was a wise move, and he really proved his worth there. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he shut down that side for them. You know, like Alvarez.
No, you know what? I think they all played well.
Yeah.
The guys. You know?
I mean, it is last though at the end of the day, and you know, we have to also.
But I said that right up front, right? But still, you know,
yeah,
we'll take it anyway. We'll take it anyway.
So
Just
what about
going
Fulham
back-
then? This weekend, what do you think about Fulham?
Eric, you're the guest. You go first.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's no easy game in the Premier League, so. But I'm confident that we could win. It's Anfield. I don't want to jinx anything, but what else can I say? Yeah.
Knock on that wood frame that I can see in the reflection there. I don't know what kit that is. It looks like a Liverpool kit there on the right on your left shoulder, over your left shoulder there. But yeah, there it is. Oh, okay, there's the reflection. Who's that? Is that Stevie?
And that's it's I got it years ago. And there's the You Never Walk Alone in the sound waves.
Oh, cool! Nice. Yeah. That's beautiful, beautiful. So for Fulham, they had that sketchy win on Monday against Wolves. Yeah. So they may have got a bit of confidence from that, but other than that, they've been generally losing games. I checked on their form guide and they had one draw in there. But so, you know, other than the fact that they got that win, I just think that teams coming to Anfield at the moment have got to know they're in for a rotten afternoon. You know, I think that's the big thing. Yeah. So for us, it's like, yeah, they may get away with the way Everton did, just like stifle us and, you know, keep trying to frustrate us. Everton did a great job of that until like what was the 70th minute or something, and eventually we broke through. So I expect nothing but a win. I think the next two games after that, Sheffield United and Palace, they're going to be harder because we haven't been brilliant on the road. But Sunday, I feel it's a bit of a formality. I'm going to go for like a 3-1.
3-1. Yeah. I mean, Keller and Net, I think that as well as he played, it's also playing like, you know, 2 or 3 days, I guess, right? And the Premier League is a different beast, right? When it comes to the speed and the physicality, right? I mean, that's one thing that I felt recent, like this season with Kelleher. I know there's only been a few matches that he's featured in, but he's felt a little less, not so much with the ball and, you know, distributing the ball and like, you know, playing it out and all that kind of stuff, but more so the shot stopping. I feel positionally, I think he's slightly a little bit off. And again, that's also rust, right? Not being in there like Allison's in every single sort of match, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm hoping he builds off of this. Sorry, Eric. Yeah, I'm hoping he builds off of this. But go ahead.
Yeah, because I do like him. I think he's a great keeper. You know.
Yeah. No, he is. He is great shot stopping skill for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say to that is it's hard to be a number 2 for too long. Like, I think you have to be a number 2 and then try yourself somewhere else. Like, look at, I think the best example in recent years is Emi Martinez. Like, you know, bench warming for Arsenal for years, became a World Cup winner. Now he's probably, top 4, top 5 goalies in the league.
He won the keeper of the year.
Good.
Yeah,
good point.
Yeah, so I feel like you have to.
But I think Keller was looking to make a move, you know, because just for more game time. Yeah.
The thing is, though, is that if Liverpool had to sell Kelleher, like they would have to probably had to buy another keeper. I mean, because I don't think Pitaguglia, I think if I'm saying that right, is ready, and Adrian, like, he's more of a mentor, goalkeeper coach. Like he's almost like a pseudo Taffarel almost, right? And so I think his playing days are pretty much numbered, other than like a freak 2 injuries and suddenly he's thrust in there.
But he seems to be he seems to be content with that role.
Talk about that. Yeah, he likes that role. I think I think he realizes it. Yeah,
sure.
But I feel like if Kelleher does go, I think we need to replace him for sure.
Yeah.
But no, I Fulham should be a challenge. But I feel like if we play our strongest lineup, you bring in the 3. And by the way, what is our strongest midfield? We've had some chatter in the group, in the WhatsApp group. But if you had to line up, and let's not like the attack, we know. Generally, I mean, you can maybe interchange now between Gakpo and somebody, but like we know it's going to be Diaz, Nunez, Salah, and at the back we know the back 4 and obviously Kelleher. But the midfield, assuming it's 3, each of you, I'd like to know who would it be for some of these matches. So let's say that first, like the higher caliber opponents, and how would you rotate? Maybe I'll start with you, Azaz, and then go over to Eric. What do you think?
So the starting 3 for me, I was going to say Champions League final. If it was the Europa League final tomorrow, my starting 3 would be McAllister, Szoboszlai for sure, and then the final one, obviously a toss-up really between Gravenberch and Curtis, because they both play on the left, and I already think that Harvey's it's harsh that Harvey's just missed out on that, but I do have
Sobo slightly jumping off a little bit here.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure.
Can you hear me?
Unless I am.
I think
hear you. Yeah. It might be you, Dan, because you went pixely as well. I think Dan's frozen. All good. I'll keep talking. So yeah, it's such a hard question. I'm gonna go with Curtis at the moment. I think longer term, I do think that Gravenberch will take a starting midfield spot. But right now, right this minute, I would start with Curtis. I think he just gets the club. Yeah. I think he's able to deploy the tactics that Jurgen wants him to play. And then I also think that at the end of it, Gravenberch can be more of an impact player than him anyway. Like bringing Gravenberch on and his like speed, his silky running, the way he just glides past people, I think it actually makes more sense to have.
He's
I
think a smart player.
Yeah, exactly. So Dan, I went with Curtis at the moment just because I think.
Curtis, okay, big shout.
Yeah, I went with Curtis at the moment for 2 reasons. Firstly, because I think Grav's still settling in and he's just like coming into his own. And the other thing is, I do think that Gravenberch is a better impact player than Curtis is. So, if we're going to go into a final or into a big game, Man United on the 16th, Arsenal on the 23rd, I think Curtis can carry out a plan. But then if we need to change the game, I don't think that there's anything like Gravenberch bringing him off the bench with that speed and the way he glides past people. And he's got a pass on him as well. He's very very Ajaxy. So classy Ajaxy. So yeah, that's what I would go for. How about you, Eric?
I agree with what you've said, but the beauty of our team right now, that if Curtis does start, we've got a lot of depth like Gravenberch and others to jump in there real quick, and help out and so on, So before, last year or the year before, we never had that kind of depth, right? It was always a bit of a weakness. So I McAllister, Curtis, and I think and Szoboszlai, I think that would be a great start.
Yeah, I take your point, Eric. I think that's a good point that you mentioned, because if you think about prior years, like what's been the one thing that a lot of Liverpool fans look at when it comes to squad and squad depth, and mainly for Jurgen, right? A lot of our fan base seems to be very preoccupied with maximizing Jurgen's time at the club, which I think all of our fans are. But I feel like the criticism on FSG and like the committee or like the transfer policy has been, if he just had a little bit more option, a little bit more flexibility when it comes to bringing in a player in match, substituting, whatever, that you would be able to change your tactics a little bit better rather than go with quote unquote the Brexit midfield or the meat and potatoes sort of James Milner, Hendo, Fabinho, Wijnaldum. I mean, in that realm where you didn't have that game breaking player like a Phil Coutinho or whatever. Not to say that we have that. I'm just saying now you can see, just to that point, like there is that flexibility. So if you needed to change it up tactically, even within a match, even twice within a match. So if you think about like the City match, we brought on Endo at the end, right, to like hold it down, to shut it down at 83 or 82nd minute, whatever it was.
He was great today.
That, like Gravenberch like in early in the second half, and so but and so we made those changes, and we could have those options to affect the match. And I think that's what the fans really wanted. The fan base really wants is Jurgen to have those options at his disposal. And funny enough, the counterpoint to that is that City, I think, don't have as many options as they originally had, let's say last year, the season before. If you look at their bench, it's very much loitered with a lot of young academy players who can probably do a job too, but they're not really battle tested like our squad, I think, is, and some of the new players are betting. So anyway, I think it's a good point.
I thought today Endo's game was Wataru was a good Endo. He was good. He did. It's so important, that role. I mean, he's a good playmaker,
Yeah, I feel like the one thing with him, I think the first half, I thought early in the game, I thought he had a little bit of a tougher time with it, but I think he grew into it a lot. But I felt like, I just feel with him, he just needs to feel comfortable. It looks like, right? Like I don't think he's like quote unquote trusted for like, all the time. Like he is in training, he gets the odd tough match and obviously Europa and all that, but like Premier League, like he's adjusting to a role that's probably foreign to him. He's a captain of Japan. He's a captain of what was it?
Swiss team.
Was it? Sorry, where did he come from again?
Stuttgart.
Yeah, that's right. But like, so a lot of that sort of pressure and a lot of that onus was on him and on his shoulders. So it's difficult sometimes moving from a leadership position into a role-playing position, especially in an established big team like Liverpool, with a lot of leaders anyway. So like for him, it's going to take him a bit of time to adjust. And I just like to see him, at least in some way this season, maybe next or whatever, just show his true potential, because I think he's a tidy player. He's really, really tidy. But one thing he lacks though is he lacks a little bit of hopefully that. Anyway,
I agree.
But
amazing. Jake's absence, I'm just going to take us home with some housekeeping, which is obviously 9 a.m. on Sunday, which means the pubs will open at 8 a.m. And everyone knows the drill there. So it's both Elephant Castle and Sly Fox. And then next Wednesday, obviously, we will be around for both of the pubs again for the Premier League game, Crystal Palace. And then, Sheffield United. Crystal Palace is on the weekend. And then Friday, we said it earlier again, Friday is the LFC Toronto holiday party at the Elephant and Castle. Tickets only. So if you've not got your tickets yet, there is a handful of tickets left, single digits. I mean, they may even be gone. I haven't checked it since this morning. But looking forward to having the whole community there. And Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure. Love your vibe in the club always. You're always such a warm, smiley, just wonderful energy. So it's just been so nice to have you here and just have an hour together on Thursday night and just chill and talk about the Reds.
Yeah, for sure. And I am honored that you asked me to join. Bit nervous, it's not my I'm a low profile guy.
Mate, you did well. You represented those
You
South African Reds well, very well.
Bruce
Yeah.
well, Bruce Grobler was well, he wasn't
Zimbabwe.
South African, he was
Yeah.
Zimbabwean or Rhodesian.
Oh, Zimbabwe.
But he lived in a lot, his family moved around. He lived a lot. In fact, he lived in my little town that I grew up in,
Oh,
which
really?
is
Wow.
about 35 kilometers away from Johannesburg, right? So
Oh, wow.
he spent a year or two there. That's my claim to fame. But
Neighbors.
it was in his book, so I'm not lying.
Nice.
Which
Well,
I
I appreciate. Yeah, sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I've been to Cape Town, Eric.
You
I don't
have?
think there's any place in the world that's prettier.
I know it's stunning.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But
Absolutely.
as we were talking earlier, I dug up my
Oh.
Liverpool, and I was
Way
member
back.
number 72.
Ooh,
Wow.
72.
And
That
that
OG.
I found this card
77.
was expires August 2013.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I think I have
Can
that
you
one
send?
too.
Can you take a picture of that and email it to us?
Sure.
I would love to share that on our social media. That's
It's
amazing.
handwritten.
Yeah, it is, and laminated.
But
And
I
laminated.
mean that was then. I mean there wasn't back in
Digital cards. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's got a printer on their desk and could print in color and could laminate and all these things. The tools just weren't around for those guys, and I think for what they did a good job. But it's not the club that you guys have taken the status, the position you've taken this club to today is just, in my opinion, has been great, and I'm sure every other member recognizes it.
Cheers, mate.
I think that's the perfect way to sign up. Yeah.
Okay, boys.
Take care.
Thank you.
See you. We'll see you at the pub, man. Take care.
Okay.